Hello and welcome to Rule of Three's video review for Toukiden Kiwami, a action RPG from Tecmo Koei and Omega Force. So this is the expansion pack to 2014's Toukiden Age of Demons. Toukiden Kiwami does include that game as well as the Kiwami portion, which is nice because I never played the original Toukiden. This is a very Monster Hunter-esque game, and personally, I'm not a big fan of Monster Hunter games. Mostly Monster Hunter. I did like God Eater's Burst and Soul Sacrifice to some extent. Soul Sacrifice, I think, is my favorite out of those three, but I'm not a big fan of them. I just think they're all too grindy, and usually they're kind of light on story, and I just don't like the grindiness of it. That being said, Toukiden Kiwami was able to do kind of what more God's Eater Burst and Soul Sacrifice were able to do, and capture me and actually pull me in a little bit more because of its more of the Monster Hunter Lite system. So the story of Toukiden is that several years ago, there was an event called the Awakening. This caused for different areas in the world to come back, and they're now filled with demons, and demons are now spilling out from rifts and things. So the demons, or Oni, as they're called, are basically running amok, and your job is to, kill them and save the world from the onslaught of Oni. On the whole, the story is decent. It's okay. It was a lot more than I thought. I liked the lore behind the game. I thought the lore was really well done. The monsters and everything, characters, I thought were very varied enough to make an impact. And I actually enjoyed the storyline a lot more. I was able to barely touch the Kiwami portion of the story, and that seems to be just kind of carrying on the okayness of the story. So, it's better than I thought it would be. It's still not, great story, but the lore, I think, is kind of what draws me in. Is there's a lot of the backstory lore is really good, and the main story is okay. Gameplay is where I'm going to be drawing a lot of references to obviously Monster Hunter, but also probably to some extent to Dynasty Warrior and Soul Sacrifice. Well, more of God's Eater Burst, actually. But anyway, so gameplay is split up into various different types. The most obvious one is you're going out and killing demons. This is done by a mission selection thing. You're going to choose a mission. It tells you what enemies and how many of those enemies you have to kill or what you have to do, and you can accomplish these missions. Doing so nets you money and some experience points. And experience points actually don't go towards your character. It goes to another system called the... let's see if I can pronounce this word right. No, that's not how you pronounce it. Mitama. Yes, Mitama. These Mitama you get for completing different missions, and they're basically the souls of ancient warriors. You can level them up, they learn new skills, and you can have 3 skills attached to each Mitama. There's various types, such as offensive, defensive, support, depending on your playstyle. The Mitama system I thought worked really nice. It was a nice way to customize your character other than your weapons. There's various types of weapons with different combos, but they're roughly all the same at the same extent. It just depends on what kind of attacks you want to do. There's swords, fists, guns, dual wield, stuff like that, giant clubs. I did fists because I don't know, recently I've been kind of in a fisty mood where I like punching things. So I chose that. That was a lot of fun. It's very powerful, but it's also very slow. So I kind of had to work around that shortcoming, especially with dodging, because I had a really crappy dodge. Anyway, as you kill monsters and Oni, depending on the enemy, you will get different materials. There are several different materials from each type of Oni. Some are common, some are rare. And that's where the Monster Hunter part of this game comes in. You take those materials, you're going to go to the armor smith, and he's going to make you new gear. That is how you strengthen your character, since you do not level, other than your Matamas you'll level up, but your character's progression is heavily based off of their gear. So you're going to be especially later on in the game. Early parts you can usually get pretty far and get all you need, but later parts of the game you do have to grind quite a bit. The other cool thing about this game is if you push the options button, or I forget what it is on the Vita, but you'll go into kind of this you see hidden things and weak spots kind of view, which is kind of cool. That's useful for mostly bigger enemies, to where you can see their weak spots, and if you hit that spot enough, it'll actually break off, and you can get materials and purify it to get stuff from that, and you get bonuses depending on if you do that and if you get all of them. Big monsters are fun. They're very difficult. They take forever, and you can't just face roll them. I tried that on the first boss, and I died several times. The nice thing is, if you have people with you, they can revive you. Very similar to Monster Hunter and God's Eater. Anyway, other than that, you can spend Haku, which is the currency in the game, to buy armor and certain gear, but you can't usually get the best stuff at the time through that system. But you do level up your shopkeeper, and he'll give you more options of items and things to do. You can also spend Haku to actually level up your Mitama manually. So if you don't, you have one that you're leveling, but you want to also level this other one just in case, you can spend money to level them up. That was kind of a nice little touch. I did like that. Those are kind of the nice things. One of my major issues with this game is, once again, this is kind of my issue with all Monster Hunter games, whether I like them or not, is they're just overly repetitive. And the problem with the combat in this one is also overly repetitive. You don't really have any combos. You really have just a base attack, a strong attack, and a special attack, and they don't chain really at all. Later in the game, they do a little bit, but for the most part, it's the same for everything. And that's also kind of a hit against Dynasty Warriors also. As I do not like the repetitiveness of combos. I've had problems with that in all their games. But it affects this one a little bit more because there's not a whole lot outside of doing these missions and fighting Oni. Weapon variations, like I said, the only real difference is how much damage and how fast they go, and their specials and stuff. But I just felt that was just, once again, overly repetitive, and there's not a whole lot to do other than go out, kill this, get materials, go back, forge new stuff, go back out, grab more materials, forge new stuff if you still can't. Or if you can, go back. If you can't, go back out, kill them. And it's just that overly repetitiveness. And like I said, luckily the story was able to keep going, because gameplay, like all issues I have with, like I said, every Monster Hunter-esque game is it's just way too grindy, and I don't like having to farm rare materials. And that's, like I said, that's a personal opinion on why I have issues with these games. Toukiden Kiwami is the only, I think, Monster Hunter-esque game on the new gen consoles. So if you're into them, I would highly suggest picking up. However, if you're kind of like me, and you're not really into the Monster Hunters, this I think is actually a good entry point to a Monster Hunter games, because I do think it's more of a Monster Hunter's light. You don't actually hunt monsters. You just go into an area, you beat up some things, get some materials, go to the next area, and you just repeat that over and over and over again. So if you can get over the grind, that overdone system. The game is actually, like I said, it's a lot of fun. The story is enjoyable, and it has some redeeming qualities outside of just being grindy. I'm giving Toukiden Kiwami a rent verdict, because I do, like I said, the game's good, but like I said, I think it's just too grindy, and like I said, I don't think, like I said, if you're in a Monster Hunter, go get the game. I'm not going to, like I said, if you like Monster Hunter, this is totally probably your game. But if you're like me, and I think a lot of people that aren't into Monster Hunter, or even just want to get into Monster Hunter but not sure, have been turned off by it at some point, I think this is a good entry point, but I don't think it's, something that you need to go rush it and buy right now. So that's it for this review. Next week will be for Mortal Kombat 10. That will be coming out, as well as our first Let's Play called Flawless Victory, which will be Mortal Kombat 10 Let's Play with me playing the story and probably other things on the hardest difficulty and just dying a lot. It's kind of a misnomer for Flawless Victory, because if I ever get a Flawless Victory on that, I'll be very surprised, which is kind of a joke. Anyway, so keep an eye out for those. Make sure to visit rule3.com for all our news postings, videos, and other things that we do. Like us on Facebook and Twitter. If you have a chance, please check out our Patreon campaign sites and donate if you can. First tier is we're about, I think, 20% up now, which is decent. I thought it would take a lot longer to get to this point because I'm very pessimistic. But if we get up to the $100 mark, we can start giveaways again, and then some of the reward tiers will actually include entries into the giveaway, little bonus entries, because you don't need it. If I ever do giveaways, it's not just going to be tied to how much you give into the Patreon. There will be other chances to enter, so even if you don't donate, you can still have a chance to win, just not as high. So check that out. And like I said, if you can, please donate. All the money will go back into the site in some form or another. Other than that, yeah, check out some of the other stuff. Yesterday, Sunday, one up Sunday, but it was done Saturday. Posted a Roy's Retro review for Maximum Carnage. Check that out. It's a fun little Spider-Man game back from the 90s. But that's it. So until next time, always remember to trust in the rule of 3.